Okay, so this is my review of Raised by Wolves season finale, The Beginning. This was written by showrunner Aaron Guzikowski and directed by Ridley Scott's son, Luke Scott. So as we see by the end of this episode, obviously the title being called The Beginning is really showing us that this story almost acts as a prequel to a story about this monster that's created, and this is the beginning of the creation of this huge flying snake. What you really see happening in this episode is where last episode we saw Mother was playing with those shiny cards that had the imagery of Saul and the androids, and she saw this vision of that cubicle thing with people in robes around it on this planet, that she's now also somewhat under the influence of Saul. And how many people you see now, including Marcus, and now we're going to see Paul fall under this, and how this mysterious entity that they think is Saul is guiding them along to get this creature made. And that's why we end up at this planet. That's why the mother wanted to have the baby there. And what they're also setting up here is that the other kids in this group, like Hunter and Holly, they now are into believing that this baby is divine and for Saul. This whole episode is a huge attack on religion, as we knew this was going to be a theme going on throughout the show with atheism and religion, but this one was very angled towards the downsides of religion and blind faith. And obviously this mouse that Paul has is evil, because they keep toying with that, but we know because he came from the pit. And he leads Paul into this cave where he would be possessed like his father by Saul. And what was cool though was Paul looks at the cave paintings in here, and there's like a painting of what looks like mother and father in a ship coming down, and in that ship they have the little embryos that they originally brought on their journey. And also in these cave paintings you see the creature snake android thing that's going to be born by the end. So that was kind of cool, you got to see it there, and that was that prophecy. So what you're seeing too is that mother talks to father here and opens up about what actually happened and how this baby was created and where she's been going this whole time, going to that pod, mating with who she thinks is the creator. And seeing this, you're realizing she actually failed her mission from her real creator, because she started believing in something, went away from atheism, and that she almost put what she thought was her creator as this God level and following it to a T. And she fell for it. And her thinking it's her creator telling her the kids were just a practice and it's all for this real baby. And that's her father's like, what are you talking about? You sound like a believer now. But what was really weird about this conversation is they're talking at a normal volume, and when we see the camera pulls out, Campion realizes father's about to run away and runs after him, but the whole time the whole camp was sitting within an earshot of that very detailed, secretive conversation. That was very strange. I don't know why they filmed it like that. And you see though, this possessed Paul almost tries to take the most important piece of the lander out so they can't leave and go to the tropical zone. So knowing that this mysterious entity wants them on this planet and keeps them away from the tropical zone, that the real place they should have been going is the tropical zone. We always hear about the tropical zone. It seems like it's the only safe place that we haven't seen yet. And what I'm talking about with these atheist religious themes and kind of being an attack on religion this episode is Sue saying to Paul here, like, no, like, I saw this happen to your father. He got sick this way. He thought he was following something that was helping him. And then she says to Paul, your mind is strong and you can do anything, but it's you, it's not Saul, it's you. So just making a play on people who kind of ignore maybe something that they should actually be giving them credits for, or following themselves and their intuition rather than believing in something above giving them guidance. And you see when mother was standing at the pit now, this mysterious creature, person in a hood comes, which definitely was one of those hooded figures in her vision on this planet, just older now, and as I said, devolving, tried to attack mother. And again, this is where father was right this whole episode, where he's telling mother, like, look, this place feels off. Have your baby somewhere else of your own choosing. Again, her constantly actually failing what her mission was, to keep following their own paths and not go into some higher belief. So it was actually father who was passing with flying colors and not mother. So we see Paul now fully just under the influence of this mysterious entity, just basically tries to kill his own mother, Sue, and calls her out for the lying and says all these things. And you may sit there and be like, well, how did he know all this? We didn't even see a scene where Saul was telling him this. But this is the tricky thing about having all these characters getting possessed now, is like, how much of it is the mysterious entity and how much of Paul is still left inside of him, that maybe this is really just this thing full on speaking through just this vessel in Paul's body. I just am not so sure how I felt about him already getting possessed and having so many characters now already under this influence. It's a little much, and it kind of takes away from watching character growth and how they might think as their own character and towards belief. Because this is taking Paul, who was already a believer, but now making him extremes like his father, which can get repetitive and makes it a little more simple writing and simple conflict and less grays, like it's pure evil versus good at that point. So when Mother finds that cube she saw in the vision on this planet and that really cool helmet, it almost looks like the helmet from the Sandman comics. This is where it really now feels that Ridley Scott touch. It really feels like a Prometheus or Alien movie, especially because it's got this very blue and gray color palette, darker lighting here, and then you get this creature come out of her mouth like something you would see in any of those movies. I just don't know how I feel about a flying snake android. I don't think it's the coolest creature. I think it's a little corny. It just looks stupid. Like, it looks like something in a bad Sci-Fi Channel show. And you see how, though, this being a snake figure, it really is playing towards the Adam and Eve with mother and father, and this being the serpent, and this was the temptation that Mother fell for here. I like, though, they had Mother realize, once this was out of her system, that she messed up, that this wasn't her true creator's baby, and it was something else entirely that gave her this creature. And she's like, I've created death, and basically wants to take this lander down the pit to get this creature away, because she knows it's going to go after blood. And this is where Father has a great moment, because now he feels use again. It's like, I'll help you, and he smiles. That was a nice touch. And loads of just imagery here of basically you look at this pit as a vagina, and this ship, literally this shot they shows, looks like a sperm going into an egg. And out of this pit, vagina, comes this evil creature is born. And it's the beginning. But you see when they were going down, they say the children will be okay. Campion will lead them. I like they showed them having flashes of like before death of good memories with the children. But man, that was cheesy as hell when they cut to Campion crying and he looks behind him and everyone's giving him the nod like, yeah, like you're gonna lead us. And Sue seems fine now. And I have no idea where Paul went. But I'll tell you this, we already know season 2 is happening. If they're gonna angle it now that Campion's gonna have to lead, I hope to God they do a little bit of a time jump so we can have some maybe new actors playing these kids, because you can't have this kid of Campion just being the lead here in season 2. He cannot carry this show. You gotta kind of maybe do a time jump, and we'll see where Mother and Father are and if they're any different from coming out of the pit, and some time passes and the planet's a little different, but this big creature's out there. I think that would be the best route to go. You see this huge flying snake thing is in the woods. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, personally, for me, I'm not really into that like huge creature type of thing in any movies or stories. It never really interests me, just them going against something like that. But I guess this was the plan all along, and it's a little disappointing because, you know, this is HBO still. It's HBO Max, but they're always selling you a premium product, and you're going to pay extra for a subscription to HBO Max. This felt like now it leaned more towards a Sci-Fi Channel show. Like, you could see this on a Sci-Fi Channel. It's nothing special, where I felt like the first couple episodes did feel special and different and game changer like. And this felt like, you know, the last 3 episodes kind of started falling off a cliff. And it's interesting, it's also 2 of those episodes, which I would argue the last 2 were the weakest of the season, were the ones not sent originally to the press. And I think there's a reason for that, because they are kind of admitting it wasn't their best stuff. So it'll be interesting where they go with this. I just don't think it went down the smart route now, and it's worrisome having so many characters being possessed by Saul or influenced by Saul, because like I said, it kind of just makes them just these evil, crazy people with no gray. That's already happened to Marcus, and that's fine because he's always been that way, and they're setting him up to be this huge villain now. And they introduce these new people too that look like atheists that are on this planet, and the ship shows up, and he's gonna be king, and he's this big servant, main servant of Saul now, and he'll probably be serving this creature, but it's more black and white now than I originally thought it would go. And having just evil creature, people possessed by evil, I don't know, it kind of takes away from maybe where I thought they'd go a little more complicated between Paul and Campion and how they view religion and atheism, and they still could do that, but right now it's trending the other direction. Just kind of campy sci-fi. So I did like some moments in this. I did like, again, the imagery of the ship going into the pit. I thought it was cool seeing that creature come out of her mouth. And they did a good job of kind of connecting the dots here about her realizing it's not her creator who gave her this baby. But overall, I think it was a disappointing finale. I think it's just a little flat and not really shocking. You knew something bad was coming because we knew all along this was from a bad entity, and that was the game plan here. So it's just kind of, you just got to see it happen. So I'm giving this one a 7.7. It's not terrible, but it wasn't great either. It's just doesn't feel like HBO quality. And it didn't leave me excited for season 2, especially the thought of just a giant flying android snake. I don't know how I feel about that or if I have any interest in that. But that's me. Maybe you're excited about that. I'd love to know. Please leave a comment down below what you thought of this finale and what you kind of think might happen in season 2, and if you would tune into season 2 when it comes out. I read every comment, try to respond to as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss one of my reviews. I'll be reviewing Haunting of Bly Manor coming out, and I'm also reviewing The Boys at the moment. And if you like what I do here, I would love if you could support the channel by making a monthly $2 donation. You can sign up in the PayPal link in my description down below. It will help me to be able to do this full time and get you guys more reviews and videos. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.